You've probably seen the charming illustrations. Children with dirt-smudged faces, chimneys in the background, and Cockney accents that seem more cute than cruel. Maybe you've imagined Victorian poverty as a page from Oliver Twist. Plucky orphans and dusty streets with a dash of Dickensian charm. But the truth is bleak, terrifying, and very real. Tonight let us gently step back into Victorian England, but not the polished world of carriages and corsets. Instead, we're entering the walls of a place most people hoped never to see. The workhouse. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Nestle deeper into your bed. Where we're going, you're going to need that comfort. Your eyes crack open to the cold slap of a bell. Relentless, metallic, like it's been ringing inside your skull for hours. But it's not a dream. It's 5:30 a.m. on a freezing January morning in the year 1850, and you're waking up in a Victorian workhouse. The first thing you notice is the smell. A foul cocktail of sour bodies, lye soap, and something worse. Rot, perhaps. Human, you can't tell yet. You're lying on a straw mattress barely thicker than a pancake, the iron bed frame beneath it digging into your back like punishment. A coarse wool blanket scratches your skin with every breath you take. You try to sit up, but the cold makes your joints ache. Breath escapes your lips in pale clouds. Around you are dozens of others, lined up like factory goods. Adults, mostly, all crammed together, shoulder to shoulder. Every bed so close you can touch your neighbor without stretching. And the mattress, it's moving. You flinch. Fleas, lice. They've made their home here, too, feasting on your skin through the night. A shout cracks through the air like a whip. Roll call in 15 minutes. Anyone late skips breakfast. You haven't even moved yet, but you're already starving. Yesterday's meals were barely food. Gruel, a chunk of bread, a potato and thin soup, and a sliver of sour cheese. You were made to work 14 hours on that. You feel your stomach clench just thinking about it. You sit up slowly, numb feet hitting the icy stone floor. The windows are tall and narrow, letting in no light. It's still black outside. You've never been more aware of how thin your body feels. How hollow. You think to yourself, why don't I just leave? But where would you go? No charity, no warm beds, no help. You're not in the workhouse because you were lazy. You're here because the streets would kill you faster. This is your lifeline, and your prison. You shuffle out into the hallway with the others, tugging on the workhouse-issued uniform over your nightclothes. Itchy fabric that fits no one and scratches like sandpaper. You can't feel your feet, only the stinging cold of the flagstone floor. Overhead, gas lamps sputter dimly, casting long, shifting shadows that make the corridor feel more like a crypt than a hallway. Men veer off one way, women another, children, well, you hear them before you see them. Somewhere nearby, a cry is quickly muffled, silenced by a firm voice. Memories from just a few days ago come flooding back like a wave of nausea. You remember the long, humiliating walk to the gates after your landlord evicted you. You remember standing in line for hours outside the stone building, praying for a miracle that never came. You remember the board of guardians, businessmen and clergymen in fine coats, asking you invasive questions with sneering disdain. What's brought you to this state? Drink, gambling, loose morals. You remember how they didn't wait for an answer. Then came the processing. They took everything. Your clothes, your shoes, the last few belongings you owned, including the locket with your mother's photo. It was all bagged, tagged, and carried off to a storeroom. With a passing, you'll get it back when you leave. Next came the bath. A grim, communal tub of cloudy, freezing water that had already been used by a dozen others before you. The smell was unbearable. So was the feeling of the workhouse attendants staring at you while you bathed. One whispered to another, "Looks healthy enough for laundry, though a bit thin." "They're all thin," came the reply. "That's why they're here." Then came the uniform. For women, a shapeless, grey dress, stiff and scratchy, topped with a cap that flattens your hair. For men, striped trousers and coarse shirts. And for everyone, the same pair of hobnailed boots. Clunky, and never the right size. Your feet throb already. But the boots, as painful as they are a luxury in this place. Many of the children have nothing but rags around their ankle. Some shuffle along with chilblains, frostbitten sores that split their skin and never fully heal. You pull your cap down lower and follow the others into the yard. Outside, the January air bites at your exposed face like broken glass. The workhouse looms in full view now, a massive, grey-bricked fortress, cold, brutal, designed to look like a prison, and it is one, in every sense but name. Spiked iron fences crown the walls. Yards are divided by partitions, one for men, another for women, one for boys, another for girls, all segmented, separated, all watched. Everywhere you look, there are signs and rules. No talking during meals, no malingering, no fraternization, no complaints, no disobedience. And beneath those rules, the punishments, reduced rations, solitary confinement, even jail time. You stand stiffly as names are called from a ledger. Thompson, Mary silent. Thompson died in the night, sir, a woman mutters. The man in charge doesn't even flinch. He makes a note, moves on. Jenkins William, you raise your hand. Present, you are counted with the same indifference as the dead. The morning air is cutting as you remarched into the dining hall, a cavernous room of echoes, scraped wooden tables, and benches with no backs. The floor is cold stone. The windows are too high to see out of men sit on one side, women on the other. The children, they eat elsewhere, under watchful eyes, always apart. You sit in silence. A bell rings. Another heads bow as the chaplain recites the morning prayer, in a droning voice. His words float just above a whisper. We thank the Lord for this humble meal and for the kind Christian parish that provides for us. The irony stings harder than the cold. You raise your eyes. Around the room, no one looks grateful. Everyone looks hungry. You'd have to be starving to find hope in what comes next. The gruel arrives, served in dented metal vats by other inmates. The smell is ... faint. A lumpy, greyish porridge lands in your bowl with a slop. A chunk of dense, dark bread follows. You stare at it, blinking. This is the nourishment that's meant to power you through 14 hours of labor. You whisper to the person beside you, is this it? He looks at you like you've grown a second head. It's Tuesday, he mutters, as if that explains everything. You'll learn soon enough. Tuesdays are gruel and bread. Wednesdays might offer soup. Thursdays, the same. Sundays are the only day with any variety. A bit of meat, if you're lucky. If the kitchen hasn't run out, you force the gruel down. It tastes exactly like it looks. Like paste. There's a faint sourness to it. Mold, maybe, from oats stored too long in damp air. The bread is sour too, rough on your cracked lips, but you eat every crumb. Everyone does. Hunger has become your shadow. It is always with you, always gnawing. You think of your life before this. Coffee in the morning, a small luxury you took for granted. A warm kitchen, perhaps. A moment to breathe. Here, there is no coffee, no warmth, no choice and no time. The bells ring again. The room empties, just as it filled. In absolute, obedient silence. Breakfast is over. Labor begins. After breakfast, you and the others are marched out to your labor assignments. There's no talking. No hesitation. No pause to stretch your aching limbs or warm your frozen fingers. The purpose of the workhouse is not to help you recover. It's to remind you, constantly, that poverty is your fault, and punishment is the only cure. That's not just opinion, it's policy. The 1834 Poor Law was written with intention. The workhouse was to be a deterrent, a place so miserable, so harsh, that no one would come here unless they were truly desperate. Every rule, every task, every meal is built around that belief. The labor isn't meant to build anything, it's meant to grind you down. Men are sent to the stone yard, where they hammer large rocks into smaller ones, endlessly. The rocks might go toward road construction, or they might just sit in piles. It doesn't matter. The goal is exertion. Some men are sent to the bone-crushing shed. There, they grind animal bones into dust for fertilizer. The stench is overwhelming. The air thick with choking white powder. Sometimes, the powder gets into the lungs and never leaves. Men cough blood and collapse. No one stops working. Others are sent to pick oakum, unraveling old ship ropes into fibers. The tar in the rope coats your fingers until they're raw. Bleeding is normal. Women, including you, are herded toward the laundry. The matron doesn't ask your name. She just says, start with the sheets. Soak, scrub, rinse, wring, hang. Don't stop until the bell rings. The piles are enormous. The smell is worse. The sheets are stiff with old stains. Some brown, some red, some yellow. You try not to think about what they are. It doesn't matter. You have to clean them either way. Steam thickens the air, sticking your uniform to your back. The copper vats bubble with scalding water. Your hands are submerged up to the wrist. Already they sting. The lye soap doesn't help. It burns open the tiniest cut. Soon your knuckles are red and slick. You glance up once, and a matron snaps. Eyes down. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. You drop your gaze. Keep moving. For the next several hours, time loses meaning. You are only your task. Soak, scrub, rinse, wring, hang. Soak, scrub, rinse, wring, hang. Over and over. You smell sweat and steam and sickness. You hear the sharp crack of knuckles being rapped by a cane. You taste blood when you bite your lip to keep from crying. No one speaks. No one rests. In the workhouse, even exhaustion is a privilege you haven't earned. Hours later, the bell finally rings for the midday meal. You barely recognize your own hands. The skin is wrinkled and red. Your fingertips split open and tender. The cuts sting with every breath, every motion. Your back feels twisted, like it's being pulled down by invisible chains. Your arms throb with dull, rhythmic pain from scrubbing against the washboard. But you don't complain. Complaining is seen as laziness. Laziness means punishment. The meal is barely more than a placeholder stew, they call it, but it's more like warm water with floating memories of vegetables. There might be a scrap of potato, maybe a thread of meat. It's thin, it's gray, it's the same thing. You'll eat tomorrow. You're grateful for it. The chunk of bread that comes with it is dry, but you use it to sop up every drop from the bottom of your bowl. Nothing is wasted. Not even crumbs. The woman sitting across from you moves quietly, mechanically. She breaks her bread into tiny pieces, and eats each one like it's precious. She looks older than she probably is. Here time works differently. The workhouse doesn't count your years. It weighs them. She leans in. First day, she asks, just above a whisper. You nod. Don't look the master in the eye, she murmurs. Don't ask questions. And whatever you do, don't cry when they take your children. Your throat tightens. My children. They take everyone, she says. Men from women, children from parents. That's the first thing they do. You want to ask more, but another bell rings. Everyone stands, benches scraping against the stone floor in perfect unison. The moment of shared humanity, that brief flicker of conversation, vanishes like smoke. Back to work. The afternoon is no easier. The laundry seems hotter now, somehow. The air is thicker. You breathe in steam and lie in the coppery taste of blood from your cracked lips. One woman faints from the heat and is carried out. No one stops working. Her place is filled in seconds. You lose yourself again in the motions. Soak, scrub, rinse, wring, hang. Soak, scrub, rinse, wring, hang. Someone hums a hymn under their breath, barely audible over the splash of water and the hiss of steam. No one speaks. But in those motions, in the rhythm of suffering, you begin to understand something about the workhouse. It isn't designed to kill you. It's designed to erase you. As evening settles over the workhouse, you feel like you've aged 10 years in a single day. Your limbs move on their own now. Your muscles long past pain. Your skin raw from water and soap. You hear the bell for supper like it's underwater, but you follow the line of women anyway, moving as one exhausted organism toward the dining hall. The meal is the same as last night. Bread, a sliver of cheese. You sit, you eat, you don't speak. No one does. A workhouse guard prowls the rows, his boots clicking on stone. Next person who talks loses dinner. You finish your crust silently. The cheese is waxy, tasteless, but you eat it all. You even lick your fingers for the salt. Around you, faces look blank, empty, like the light has slowly been drained from behind their eyes. The woman from earlier, the one who warned you not to cry, sits beside you again. Her face is gone, but her eyes are sharp. You've done well, she whispered. Most collapse their first day. You don't feel like you've done well. You feel broken. After the meal comes the final indignity of the day. Moral instruction. You're led into a cold hole with stone walls and hard benches. The chaplain reads from a book of sermons. His voice is dry, detached. He drones about the virtue of hard work and the sin of art. He thanks God for the charity of the parish, for this prison dressed up as salvation. You try to keep your eyes open, but your body is trembling from exhaustion. Your vision blurs. At last, after what feels like hours, you're released to the dormitory, back to the same bed, the same scratchy the same lice-filled mattress that writhes with life beneath your body. You collapse onto it. You hear someone crying softly a few beds down. The sound is raw, unfiltered. The kind of cry that comes from someone who's lost something they can never get back, you understand? You turn toward the wall, curl into yourself, and try not to make a sound. As your mind slips toward unconsciousness, one question rises above the fog. Where are your children? You were brought here together, you were processed together, and then, no one has told you where they were taken. You were too shocked, too overwhelmed to ask. Tomorrow, you promise yourself. Tomorrow, you'll find out. But you already know. In the workhouse, families don't stay together. That's the rule. And here, rules are never broken. Morning comes not with sunlight, but with sound. The bell, louder than thunder, shattering your rest. A jagged noise that tears through your skull before your eyes are even open. For one fleeting second, you forget where you are. Then you inhale, and it all returns. The stink of unwashed butt. The sting of frozen air against your cheeks. The scratchy blanket clinging to you like butter. Your bed still crawling with fleas. Someone is coughing nearby. Someone else is moaning softly in their sleep. You rise slowly, every joint aching. Your hands are worse today, raw, red, stiff. The skin around your knuckles is cracked and sore. The matron appears at the doorway like a warden. Move yourselves. Anyone not at roll call forfeits breakfast. You remember what that means now. Yesterday, an old woman, Margaret, was late. Just 2 minutes. They made her stand in the corner of the dining hall and watch everyone else eat. By dinner, she collapsed. You haven't seen her since. You fumble into your uniform. The wool has grown itchier somehow, and it now carries the bitter scent of your own sweat. Your boots pinch your swollen feet. You haven't washed in days. That won't come until Saturday, the only day for supervised bathing. You join the slow procession toward the courtyard. It's still black outside, and colder than before. Your breath comes in clouds. Frost crunches beneath your soles. Overhead, stars hang motionless, indifferent. You reach the yard. The dividing wall between men and women still standing firm like a threat. You scan the crowd across the way. There, through the mist of frozen breath, you see him, your husband. His face looks thinner. Hollow, a bandage wraps one of his hands. He's limping slightly. Even from here, across the courtyard, you can tell. The workhouse has started to consume him. You want to call out two-way, but you don't. You can't. Communication between male and female inmates is strictly forbidden. All you can do is drink in the sight of him. Memorize the way he stands, the shape of his shoulders, the color of his eyes, the cold rising off his skin like steam. A voice snaps you back. Adams present. Barrett present. Collins present. You answer when your name is called. Your voice is hoarse. You're not sure they even hear you, but they make a mark in the ledger. It doesn't matter. Names here are just entries in a book. Your presence is noted with the same indifference as a death. After roll call comes prayer. The chaplain, thin as a scarecrow and wrapped in layers of wool no inmate could ever afford, stands before you reading a sermon on the virtue of labor and the divine plan of poverty. You try to listen. You really do. But the words blur. Something about God's mercy, about honest toil redeeming the soul, about how the workhouse is a charitable blessing. A woman near you mutters under her breath, if God made this place, it was on the day he invented hell. You stifle a surprised breath, a laugh caught in your throat. Humor is rare in this place. Rare and dangerous. You glance at her, middle-aged, sharp eyes, deep lines from worry more than age. She winks. It feels like an act of rebellion. Then comes breakfast. The hall again. The same benches, the same cold stone, the same rows of tired, hungry bodies, moving like clockwork. Men on one side, women on the other. Children nowhere to be seen. They dine in another hall entirely, under the ever-watchful eye of the schoolmaster. This morning's meal. Gruel, again, thin, barely warm, lumpy, and bland. A bowl of beige nothing with the texture of glue. There's bread, too, though smaller than yesterday. Your stomach sours at the sight, but it's better than the ache of emptiness. You eat. You force yourself to chew slowly, even though your body screams for more. Across from you sits the woman who spoke during prayers. She eats with discipline, carefully tearing her bread into tiny pieces, making it last. She watches your eyes drift toward the men's side of the hall, looking for someone. She asks, so softly, you barely hear it. You nod. My husband. She glances over her shoulder and back again. Which one? Tall, dark hair, scar over one brow, blue uniform, she snorts. That narrows it down to about 100. You want to smile. You don't. You can't afford to draw attention. You add quietly, he used to be a carpenter. Before you trail off. Before what? Before the factory closed. Before the rent doubled. Before your youngest child got sick. Before everything collapsed. I'll keep an eye out, she says. I'm Ellen. Thank you. The words leave your mouth before you realize how much they mean. Silence during meals. Barks a guard, stomping between tables. Next person who speaks loses dinner. Ellen rolls her eyes and falls quiet. You scrape your bowl clean, like everyone else. The hunger is always there. Annoying thing, coiled low in your gut, never fully sated. It's meant to keep you just alive enough to work, nothing more. Breakfast ends, and dread sets in. Not from the food, but from what comes next. Labor assignments. The workhouse master enters stiff-backed and scowling, a thick ledger under his arm. His assistant trails behind him, eyes sharp as he scans the room. They call out names and duties one by one. It's a lottery, but with no good outcomes. Some assignments are tolerable. Kitchen duty, corridor sweeping, even infirmary assistance. They're still exhausting, still cruel, but at least they don't break your body. Others are worse, much worse. The laundry, the bone-crushing yard, the stone yard, the sewing room, where eyes go blind from squinting over needle and thread for 12 hours straight. Everyone listens in tense silence, praying. Not for relief, but for less suffering. Adams, laundry. Barrett, cleaning. Collins, infirmary duty. When your name is called, the verdict lands like a weight. Your heart sinks. Again, the laundry is steam and agony. The cuts on your hands haven't healed from yesterday. The lie stings with each touch. The burns never fade. You go without protest. That's how it works here. Complaints are punishable. Reduced rations. Refractory cell. Isolation. You've heard stories about what happens there. You follow the others down the same corridor, past the same flickering gas lamps, and into the laundry wing. The heat hits you like a wall. Steam billows from copper vats large enough to boil livestock. Water hisses and bubbles. The floor is slick. The air feels heavy, thick with the stink of wet cloth, sweat, and old soap. Women are already at work, sleeves rolled up, arms deep in soapy tubs. Their skin is red and raw. Their faces glisten with sweat. Many wear rags over their mouths to avoid breathing in the lye. A supervisor stands, watch near the entrance. Her face is blotched with broken Her hands are thick with old scars. She sees you and jerks her head toward an empty tub. Those sheets won't clean themselves, she says without emotion. You take your place. The water is boiling. It scalds your hands instantly, but no one cares. You start scrubbing, biting your lip to keep from crying out. Beside you, Ellen appears, already elbow-deep in suds. Trick is to move fast, she murmurs. Don't give your skin time to feel it. You try, but the pain still finds you. The sheets are soaked in sweat, waste, blood. Each one is a ledger of suffering. You scrub them because it's your job, because you must, because this is the only life you have now. Hours pass. You lose track of time. You lose track of yourself. Your world narrows to 5 movements. Soak, scrub, rinse, wring, hang. And still, the bell doesn't ring. The heat has become unbearable. Sweat pours from your skin like rain. Your arms shake from effort. Your fingers no longer feel like your own. Just throbbing, red stumps. You drag through scalding water again and again. You've entered that strange fugue of pain and repetition where time disappears. The world is a blur of movement and steam. Bodies working. Shoulders hunched. Hands bleeding. The hiss of boiling water. The slap of wet linen against the tubs. Suddenly, a sound cuts through it all. A soft thump. Then a gasp. You look up. At the far end of the row, a young woman has collapsed. One moment she was standing, pale, unfocused, wavering, and the next she was on the floor, limbs tangled beneath her like a marionette whose strings had been cut. No one moves. The supervisor sighs, annoyed, not alarmed. Not again, she mutters. Then she points, directly at you and Ellen. You get her to the infirmary, and be quick about it. Those sheets need finishing before dinner. The woman is light in your arms, terrifyingly light. Her skin burns with fever, and she murmurs something you can't make out. Ellen lifts her legs. Together, You carry her through the maze of hallways toward the infirmary. The corridors are quieter now. Distant, muffled coughs. A door creaks shut somewhere far away. Then the smell hits you. Carbolic acid, rot. Something sweet and sickly. You know it before you see it. The scent of illness, of infection, of death. The infirmary is a long room lined with iron-framed beds. Most are occupied. Men, women, children. Some are still and silent. Others groan or cough or murmur in delirium. One is weeping softly into a dirty pillow. A single nurse moves between them all, overwhelmed, exhausted, but still working. She doesn't look up as you approach. Another fainter from Londra, Ellen says, her voice low. Put her by the window. The nurse replies, barely glancing over. She'll come round or she won't. Ellen's voice drops further. She's pregnant, about 4 months, I think. Now the nurse looks, just for a moment. Her expression softens. She nods. I'll check on her, when I can. And just like that, you're dismissed. You turn to go, but then, your breath catches. There, in the corner bed, small, pale, flushed with fever, is a child. Your child. You rush to her side, ignoring Ellen's warning his. Her eyes are closed. Her tiny chest rises and falls shallowly. A handmade wooden sign hangs from the bed. Her name. You call to a passing nurse. What happened? Why didn't anyone tell me? The nurse doesn't even stop. Fever. Probably. Half the children's ward has it. But why wasn't I told? She shrugs. Not my job to track down relatives. Get back to work. Ellen is beside you again, her hand gripping your arm. Come on, she says quietly. We'll come back after dinner. You let yourself be led away. You keep looking back until the bed disappears behind the swinging doors. The walk back to the laundry is a blur. You barely feel your boots slapping the stone floor, or the chill that seeps back into your skin. All you can think about is your daughter's face. Pale and hot. Too still. Her small body swallowed by the infirmary sheets. Her name scrawled on a wooden tag as if that could somehow account for her life. Measles, it's not just a fever here. It's a threat. In the cramped, damp, underfed wards of the workhouse, illness spreads like fire through dry grass. You've already buried one child. The thought of burying another. You swallow hard. You can't afford to cry. Not here. Back in the laundry, everything is the same, as if nothing has changed. The steam, the piles of sheets, the sting of soap in your wounds. The woman who fainted, her station is already taken by someone else. No one even mentions her. Here, pain and collapse are just part of the rhythm. You slip back into place, soak, scrub, rinse, wring, hang. The movements come automatically now. Your body rebels, but you push through. You have to. They won't excuse your absence. They won't allow your grief. Ellen works beside you, silent for a long while. Then she speaks, just loud enough to be heard over the splash of water. She'll be all right. You glance at her. Children are tougher than they look, she adds, not quite meeting your eyes. Do you have children here? Her jaw tightens. Had a boy and a girl. My boy died first winter. Chest infection. The girl, she was sent out as a scullery maid. Haven't seen her in 3 years. You want to say something, to offer comfort. But what comfort exists here? You nod instead. You both return to your tasks. The water scalds. The soap stings. But you keep going. It's all you can do. Dinner comes like a mercy. Not because it's nourishing, but because it means a moment of stillness. The stew is thin, as always. Barely more than vegetable-scented water. A slice of bread, no more. But you eat every bite. You need strength for what comes next. After dinner, Ellen whispers a plan. We'll sneak into the infirmary. After supper, before the final roll call, I know one of the night nurses. If she's on, she'll let us look in. You nod. Your hands are trembling again. Not from cold or pain, but hope. You might see your daughter again tonight. You might know if she's still breathing. And that, in this place, is everything. The evening bell tolls. A low, metallic groan that echoes through the workhouse like a warning. Supper is over. The final roll call will come soon. Then the nightly lecture. Then sleep, if you're lucky. But first, a chance. Ellen moves fast, leading you through the labyrinth of corridors, with the stealth of someone who's done this before. Her shoulders are hunched, her step soft. You mimic her pace, your boots thudding too loudly in your ears. Don't talk, she whispers. And if anyone stops us, we were sent to return linens. The infirmary wing lies in the far end of the building, separated from the regular dormitories by distance. Stone, and intention. The air shifts as you approach, cooler, stiller, almost reverent, or maybe just more afraid. When you reach the door, a nurse stands there. Not the harried one from before, but someone younger. Her face is pale, her eyes alert, but not unkind. She sees Ellen and raises an eyebrow. Ellen steps forward. The girl from this morning. Her mother's here. The nurse hesitates, then sighs. 5 minutes. That's it. She pushes the door open with a quiet creak. Inside, it's dim. Gaslights hiss softly. Rows of iron beds stretch in either direction, many of them occupied. Shadows shift under threadbare blankets. Some moan, some cough, some lie too still. The children's ward is at the far end. A dozen small beds, each with a number and a wooden tag. They're near the window. Your daughter, she's asleep. Or unconscious, you can't tell. Her cheeks are flushed, but not burning. Her breath is shallow, but even. Her hands, small and pale, rest atop the blanket like fallen leaves. You drop to your knees beside the bed. Her hair has been shorn close to her scalp, like all the children here, a measure to fight lice. But it still startles you. She looks different. Older, smaller. You take her hand in yours. It's warm. Alive. The nurse glances over. Fever's broken. She's stable. If she keeps improving, she'll be moved back to the children's dormitory in a day or two. You nod, unable to speak. You stroke your daughter's forehead gently, smoothing back imaginary hair. Her skin is slick with sweat, but not dangerously hot. I'm here, you whisper. Mama's here. She stirs, just slightly. Doesn't wake, but her fingers twitch around yours. It's enough. 5 minutes pass in a heartbeat. The nurse returns and taps your shoulder. Time's up. You press your lips to your daughter's temple. A silent kiss. A prayer made flesh. Then you will let go. Back in the hallway. Ellen waits. She doesn't say anything. She just walks beside you in silence. A presence you hadn't known you needed until now. The infirmary fades behind you, swallowed once more by the cold grey holes of the workhouse. You return to your dormitory just in time for the final roll call. The beds are lined up like soldiers. Iron frames, thin mattresses, identical grey blankets. Your name is called. You answer. Another checkmark in the ledger of the forgotten. Then comes the lecture. You file into the chapel hall, where the chaplain waits behind a wooden pulpit, his voice already echoing off the stone walls. It's the same as every night. A sermon not meant to uplift, but to warn. Idleness is the root of moral decay. The poor must work to be made whole. Gratitude, not comfort, is the reward for righteousness. You sit stiffly, surrounded by other women in grey. No one listens. Not really. You've all heard it too many times. The words roll over you like fog. Thick, heavy, impossible to escape. You glance around the room. A girl not much older than 16 stares straight ahead, her eyes She hasn't spoken since her baby was taken from her. He was too small, they said. Unfit for the workhouse nursery. He died 2 weeks later. No one told her why. Next to her, a stooped woman with shaking hands clutches a handkerchief so tightly it's tearing. She used to be a cook in a grand house. Arthritis ended that job. The workhouse was her only option. Now her hands trembled too much even for laundry. You wonder what her future is. If she simply wastes away in some forgotten corner, invisible to all. The chaplain drones on. Poverty is not punishment, it is purification. You feel your jaw tighten. No one here is being purified. You're being erased, piece by piece. After the sermon, you return to your bed. The blankets scratch your skin. The mattress wriggles with unseen pests. But you're too tired to care. Sleep comes slowly, not as rest, but as retreat. Across the room, someone is weeping again. Softly, brokenly, hopelessly. You pull your blanket tighter, bury your face in your pillow, and try not to listen. You think of your daughter, her sleeping face, her warm hand in yours, her breath rising and falling like waves. You hold on to that image. You let it carry you into sleep, because tomorrow you'll wake up and do it all again. The infirmary fades behind you, swallowed once more by the cold grey holes of the workhouse. You return to your dormitory just in time for the final roll call. The beds are lined up like soldiers. Iron frames, thin mattresses, identical grey blankets. Your name is called. You answer. Another checkmark in the ledger of the forgotten. Then comes the lecture. You file into the chapel hall, where the chaplain waits behind a wooden pulpit, his voice already echoing off the stone walls. It's the same as every night. A sermon not meant to uplift, but to warn. Idleness is the root of moral decay. The poor must work to be made whole. Gratitude, not comfort, is the reward for righteousness. You sit stiffly, surrounded by other women in grey. No one listens. Not really. You've all heard it too many times. The words roll over you like fog. Thick, heavy, impossible to escape. You glance around the room. A girl not much older than 16 stares straight ahead, her eyes red. She hasn't spoken since her baby was taken from her. He was too small, they said. Unfit for the workhouse nursery. He died 2 weeks later. No one told her why. Next to her, a stooped woman with shaking hands clutches a handkerchief so tightly it's tearing. She used to be a cook in a grand house. Arthritis ended that job. The workhouse was her only option. Now her hands trembled too much even for laundry. You wonder what her future is. If she simply wastes away in some forgotten corner, invisible to all. The chaplain drones on. Poverty is not punishment, it is purification. You feel your jaw tighten. No one here is being purified. You're being erased, piece by piece. After the sermon, you return to your bed. The blankets scratch your skin. The mattress wriggles with unseen pests. But you're too tired to care. Sleep comes slowly, not as rest, but as retreat. Across the room, someone is weeping again. Softly, brokenly, hopelessly, you pull your blanket tighter, bury your face in your pillow, and try not to listen. You think of your daughter, her sleeping face, her warm hand in yours, her breath rising and falling like waves. You hold on to that image. You let it carry you into sleep, because tomorrow you'll wake up and do it all again. The next morning starts the same way. The bell, the cold, the aches in your joints, your back, your soul. But something is different. There's a stir in the air as you dress in your scratchy uniform. Whispers move like wind through the dormitory. The board is here, the guardians. Inspections today. You don't understand at first. What board? Then it clicks. The board of guardians, the overseers of the poor law system, the men who govern the workhouse from above, most of whom have never spent a night in one. They visit occasionally, to observe, to review conditions, to make notes. Their presence doesn't change the reality of the workhouse, but it does sharpen the performance. Before breakfast, the matrons order the dormitories scrubbed. You're handed a brush and told to clean the floor under your own bed. Quickly, thoroughly, and without question. By the time breakfast is served, the room smells of soap and boiled gruel. The benches have been wiped down. Even the gruel looks slightly thicker today, as if appearance alone could convince the guardians that everything is fine. Then they arrive. 3 men, dressed in heavy coats, fine waistcoats, and top hats that never see rain or grime. They walk slowly through the dining hall, flanked by the master and the chaplain. They do not speak to the inmates. They do not look at you. They look at the idea of you. One guardian stops and gestures to a child's half-eaten bowl of porridge. Is this a standard portion? He asks the master. Yes, sir. Carefully measured by weight. We are precise here. The guardian nods. Very good. Economical. And sufficient. He moves on without asking the child if he's full. Another man stops near the infirmary records posted on the wall. He runs his gloved finger along the list of deaths. Quite a few children this winter, he remarks. The chaplain clears his throat. We do what we can, sir. Illness spreads quickly in confined spaces. No one says that the spaces are confined by design. No one says that cold and malnourishment make young bodies easy prey for fever. The guardians nod, murmur among themselves, and continue down the hall. Their polished shoes echo on the clean stone floor. Not once do they kneel to speak with a resident. Not once do they ask what life is really like. And when they leave, everything snaps back into place. The gruel thins. The benches go unwiped. The matrons stop pretending to smile. You return to the laundry. The steam is hotter today. The tubs burn the same. But now you understand something deeper. Even the ones in charge, the ones who built this system, have no interest in fixing it. They've convinced themselves that your suffering is necessary. That you are necessary. Not as a person, but as a symbol. A warning to others. This is what happens when you fall. Later that afternoon, as you carry a heap of wet linen across the laundry yard, you hear it. A sharp cry followed by the slam of a heavy door. You freeze. Everyone around you stops too, just for a second. Then they keep walking, eyes lowered. But you look up, across the yard near the women's dormitory block. 2 attendants are dragging a girl no more than 17, toward a locked door built into the side of the building. The refractory cell. She's limp, barefoot, crying, but not loudly. More like the crying of someone who has nothing left. One of the guards barks, refused orders, answered back, uncooperative. No trial, no appeal. No one even pretends to ask her side of the story. The door is unbolted. Stone, iron, silence. She disappears into the darkness, and the bolt slams back into place. The laundry matron sees you watching, eyes down. Unless you'd like to be next, you drop your gaze, your heart pounds. You've heard rumors about the refractory cells. Tiny stone rooms, windowless, colder than the grave. Inmates left there for hours, even days, with only bread and water. Some come back quieter, others don't come back at all. Once, Ellen whispered about a woman who spent 3 nights in one. She never spoke again. Punishment in the workhouse doesn't follow crime. It follows attitude. Speak too loudly, insolence. Refuse to scrub blood from a stranger's sheets, defiance. Ask about your child too many times, disruptive. The line between obedience and punishment is invisible. Until you cross it. After the girl is locked away, the mood changes. Everyone moves a little faster. No one talks, not even Ellen. You return to the laundry tub and plunge your hands back into the boiling water. The pain centers you, grounds you. You focus on your task. Soak, scrub, rinse, wring, hang, over and over. You begin to understand that survival here isn't just about food or warmth. It's about invisibility. You mustn't stand out. You mustn't be noticed. To be noticed is to be marked. Later that night, you ask Ellen quietly, what happens to girls like her? She doesn't look at you. They either break, she says, or they vanish. It's raining tonight. You hear it tapping softly on the high, narrow windows as you lie in bed. The glass is too grimy to see out of, but the sound is unmistakable. That cold, rhythmic whisper of rain on stone. Most of the dormitory is asleep, or pretending to be. Sleep, like food, is rationed by circumstance. Some nights it comes, others it doesn't. Tonight it doesn't. Your mind spins. You think of your daughter, still in the infirmary. She was stronger yesterday. Alote even smiled when you snuck in again with Ellen's help. But she's still pale, still coughing. You think of the girl in the refractory cell. No one's mentioned her since. You think of Margaret, the older woman who missed breakfast last week. No one's seen her since, either. In the workhouse, people disappear quietly. There's no ceremony, no funerals, no mourning. If an inmate dies and no family comes forward, which is often, they are buried in a pauper-esque grave, usually just outside the city limits. A coffin, if they're lucky. A sack, if not. No headstone, just a number. The workhouse keeps ledgers, names, dates, causes, but in the end, most become entries in a book no one reads. You whisper to Ellen across the darkness. Do they tell the families? There's a pause. Only if someone asks. She whispers back. The rain grows heavier. You wonder who will remember you when you're gone. If your daughter survives, will she remember your face, your voice, or just the grey walls and the bitter smell of soap? You think of the way the chaplain reads, the deaths allowed during Sunday prayers. Monotone, indifferent, as if reading grocery lists, as if each name is just another proof of the system working. We take them in, we bury them, we do our duty. But who weeps? Who lights a candle? Who says their name out loud after the week is over? You stare up at the ceiling, tracing the outline of a crack above your bed. The workhouse is full of the living, and crowded with the dead. Not ghosts exactly, just the unremembered. And as the rain continues, you feel it wash over you. That deep, aching truth. Here, to survive, is not to live. It is to wait, and to hope someone, someday, still remembers who you were. The next morning brings a strange moment. A moment that feels almost like grace. You're assigned not to the laundry, but to the kitchen corridor. Sweeping, scrubbing the walls, keeping out of the way of the cooks. It's still work, still painful on your knees and hard on your cracked fingers, but it's quieter, less cruel. And, from this corridor, there's a view into the courtyard. You pause at the archway, broom in hand, as a group of men are marched past. Morning labor rotation. You don't expect to see anyone familiar. But then, there he is, your husband. You blink, heart jolting. He hasn't seen you. He's near the back of the line, walking slowly, favoring one leg. He's thinner than before, paler. His uniform hangs off his frame like it doesn't belong, but it's him. You haven't been allowed to speak since the day you arrived, not even once. Men and women are strictly divided in the workhouse, separated by walls, schedules, even meals. To speak across those lines is to risk punishment, and yet, in this moment, your eyes meet. Just for a second, his mouth opens slightly, as if to say your name, but he doesn't, he can't, he just stares. You want to run to him, you want to tell him about your daughter, about the fever, about the way she smiled 2 days ago. You want to ask how he is, where he's been working, whether they've treated him worse than you, but none of that is allowed. Instead, you do the only thing you can. You nod. Just once. Slowly. He nods back. Then the moment is over. The line moves on, and he vanishes behind the gate. You return to your sweeping, hands trembling, heart hammering in your chest. For the rest of the day, that flicker stays with you. That nod, that shared recognition. In a place designed to strip people of identity, you saw him, and he saw you, and that, for now, is enough. That evening, as you return to the dormitory, Ellen notices your expression. Something happened, she says. You smile faintly, lips cracked. I saw it. She doesn't need to ask who, she just nods. Good. That means he's still alive. That's more than some get. You lie down that night with your eyes closed and your thoughts full. Tomorrow will bring more labor, more gruel, more silence. But today, for a moment, you remembered who you are. A week passes. Your daughter has returned to the children's ward, weak but healing. You're allowed to see her twice. Once by stealth, once with permission. She clings to your skirt both times, whispering, "Don't leave again." You lie and say you won't. Today, a rare event is unfolding. Inspection day for children. Once a month, parish officers and potential employers, cooks, tradesmen, housekeepers, come to look over the workhouse children, to observe them, to assess their strength, their manners, their usefulness. You're not allowed near, but word spreads fast. They're preparing the girls today. You trade jobs with Ellen, offering to take her laundry shift in exchange for corridor duty near the children's dormitory. It's risky, against rules, but she agrees. You clean slowly, ears open. Inside the dormitory, you hear girls being lined up. Their shoes are polished, their hands scrubbed raw. Their hair, what's left of it, is combed and flattened. A nurse instructs them. Smile, but not too much. Don't speak unless spoken to. If they touch your hands, don't pull away. Your stomach turns. It's not just an inspection. It's a market. Eventually, the inspectors arrive. You recognize the type. Women in fine coats. Men with pocket watches and canes, looking over the girls like they're judging sheep. One woman asks, "Can any of them serve?" Another, "Is she good with babies?" Your daughter is among them. You can't see her, but you hear her voice, soft, unsure. Reciting the days of the week, the matron praises her. Quick learner, quiet, obedient. Your throat tightens. You know what comes next. If chosen, your daughter could be sent away as a domestic servant, a scullery maid, or even into another household to look after infants. She'd be gone, possibly for years, possibly forever. You were warned of this from the start. In the workhouse, children are separated from their parents, not just by walls, but by decisions you don't get to make. There's no appeal, no negotiation, no visitations promised. You return to your sweeping, heart-pounding. Later that night, you ask Ellen quietly, what if they choose her? She doesn't answer right away. Then pray she's sent to a kind house. You stare at the ceiling. The worst part isn't the separation. It's that you won't even know where she's gone. The days grow colder. The stone floors bite at your feet, even through your thin boots. The air in the laundry turns from choking steam to damp chill, a frost that creeps beneath your skin and settles in your bones. The fire in the furnace never quite warms the room now. Food rations shrink. You don't know if it's a supply issue, a disciplinary measure, or simply a forgotten order. But the gruel grows thinner, the bread smaller, and the hours between meals longer. You feel it in your limbs, in your thoughts. Hunger becomes a constant companion. It changes you. You start noticing crumbs on the floor. You consider whether they're clean enough to eat. You stretch your bread by chewing it twice as long, swallowing slowly, imagining it filling more space than it does. Once, Ellen finds half a potato skin left behind in the kitchen corridor and pockets it like treasure. She splits it with you behind the laundry bins. You eat it without shame. It's like this every winter, she says. Always worse when it's cold. They say the cold keeps the parasites down, keeps us grateful. You ask, grateful for what? She smirks. For anything, even crumbs. That's the trick of it. Make you thank them for your own suffering. That night, the chaplain gives a sermon about gluttony. The poor, he says, must learn to resist temptation. Hunger builds character. Appetite is the road to ruin. You sit there, ribs pressing through your uniform, hands shaking from lack of food, listening to a well-fed man tell you your emptiness is spiritual. Later, a child in the dormitory is caught hoarding crusts under her mattress. Not stealing, just saving. She's whipped, not severely, just enough. The matron calls it correction. You call it cruelty. The girl doesn't cry. That's the part that haunts you. She just sits quietly afterward, staring at the floor, fingers wrapped around nothing. That night, you can't sleep. Your stomach growls. You curl into yourself. You think of the world outside, of bakery windows, of roasted chestnuts, of simple, stupid things like jam on toast. You tell yourself it doesn't matter. You tell yourself you're strong. But deep down, you know the truth. This hunger isn't temporary. It's permanent. Part of you now, a shadow stitched into your skin, and you don't know if you'll ever feel full again. It's a rare, clear morning, the sky pale and cold like washed linen. You're sweeping the entry corridor when the gate bell rings. Mail day, the porter opens the heavy doors just wide enough to accept a small satchel. Letters and notices from outside, from parish officials, from the board, sometimes even from family. You pause your sweeping. It's foolish, but you still hope. You gave your brother's name when you were admitted, told the clerk his address in what, asked if he could be contacted. That was weeks ago. You imagine his face when he reads the news. That you, his sister, have been admitted to the workhouse. That your daughter is sick. That your husband now labors in the stone yard. You imagine him dropping everything, coming here, demanding your release. But the truth is, he may never have received anything at all. The matron sorts the mail behind her desk. You can see her lips moving, reading the names silently. Then she tosses most of it into a drawer. A few items go into a small basket labeled inmate correspondence. The rest, unknown, returned to sender, or simply discarded. Later, back in the dormitory, you ask Ellen, has anyone ever gotten a letter? She laughs. Not kindly. Maybe once a year. Usually bad news, a death, an eviction, a refusal. Sometimes a family asks when you'll be released. Like this is a prison with a sentence, and if you write back, they might read it. They might not. She doesn't elaborate. You once tried to write your own letter. The paper was thin, the pencil worn. You poured everything into it, your circumstances, your pleas, your hope. But the matron read it first. Too emotional, she said. Too dramatic. We can't send letters that sound desperate. It makes the workhouse look bad. You never tried again. Tonight, a woman 2 beds down receives news. Her sister has died. There is no ceremony. Just a slip of paper, a single line of ink. No return address. She folds it without a word, lies down, and turns her face to the wall. No one speaks to her. What would they say? There are no comforting words here, only the dull knowledge that you're still breathing, still hungry, still scrubbing the same stone floor, while the outside world forgets you. You lie awake wondering, does your brother even know you're gone? Does anyone? You didn't expect to return to the infirmary so soon, but the matron calls you by name after breakfast and orders infant's ward. They're short today. Try not to faint at the smell. You don't protest. It's not a punishment. Not exactly. Just another rotation in a system that spins on misery. The infant's ward is tucked in a separate wing, behind thick doors and hushed halls. It's quiet here, not from peace, but exhaustion. The kind of silence that clings to the walls like damp. Inside, cribs, dozens of them, tiny iron beds, barely long enough for a child who can crawl. Most are occupied. Some infants sleep, others cry, others just lie still, staring at the ceiling as if already disenchanted with the world they've entered. There are 3 of you on duty, 1 nurse, 2 inmate assistants. You are assigned to feeding. It sounds simple, until you hold the child in your arms. They're lighter than they should be. Their skin, paper. Their eyes, huge and hollow. You try to coax the milk from the chipped ceramic bottle into their mouth, but they barely suck. You have to tilt the bottle, rub their cheek, whisper nonsense, just to keep them awake. Many of these children were born here. Some were abandoned. Others are the result of assaults no one wants to speak of. A few are from families like yours, broken by poverty, not by choice. The nurse says, without looking up, half won't last the winter. You think she's exaggerating. Then she points to a side room. You glance inside. 3 small cribs. All empty, not from use, but from silence. She doesn't explain, she doesn't need to. You keep working. You change linens, you clean vomit, you soothe babies who will never know a mother's lullaby. By midday, you're dizzy from the sour smell of milk, soiled cloth, and sickness. But you don't stop. You rock another infant, eyes closed, whimpering, and hum without thinking. A song your mother sang. You can't even remember the words. The nurse hears and looks over. Just for a second, then she nods. A quiet nod. Not praise, but something like respect. Later, as you return your apron and step into the corridor, Ellen meets you with a bowl of cold stew she saved. How was it? She asks. You hesitate. Then, worse than laundry, she nods. No more is said. That night, the faces of those babies follow you into your dreams. Small, silent, forgotten, just like everyone else here. The first frost arrives without ceremony. You wake one morning to find your breath visible in the dormitory air. Little clouds drifting upward, vanishing into the gloom. The blankets do nothing now. The stone beneath your mattress seems to radiate cold through your bones. Outside, the windows are laced with frost. You run your finger along the glass and leave behind a brief, warm trail. It fades in seconds. Everyone is slower today. Joints ache, skin cracks. The old women can barely move. And still, the bell rings. The laundry calls. The boots march. The rules remain. You make your way across the yard, feet numb in your worn-out shoes. The laundry room is worse than usual. Cold steam clings to the air, and the water, meant to be hot, is now just lukewarm. Hands submerge into the basin and come out blue. The soap stings more now. The water takes longer to dry. The wind outside finds every gap in your uniform, every tear in the seams. Someone coughs behind you. A hacking, deep sound. Not one of the usual dry coughs that plague the dorms, but wet and low. It echoes. No one reacts. Illness is inevitable in winter. Everyone knows that. The staff talk about cleaning rotations and sanitation checks, but there's no real prevention here. Just hope and luck and a strong constitution. You have none of the three. At lunch you're given a tin cup of tea. Black, bitter, but warm. You wrap your fingers around it like it's a fire. It's the most warmth you'll get all day. The tea is meant to be comforting, but the taste only reminds you of other winters, of wool blankets, of the smell of potatoes roasting. You try to chase the memory away, but it lingers. That afternoon, the chaplain reads aloud the first official death of the season. Edith Collins, 68. Natural causes. You knew her. Not well. Just enough to know she always smiled at the children. That she always offered a scrap of her bread to the weakest among you. That she slept her beds down from Ellen. Natural causes, they said. But you know better. It was the cold, the hunger, the slow erosion of strength. That night, you lie awake and wonder, who will be next? You, Ellen, one of the children. There is no way to know. Only the certainty that winter has begun. And not everyone will see it end. Rumors travel faster than light in the workhouse. This morning, even before the bell, you hear it in the dormitory. A buzz, a whisper. Someone escaped, not released, not discharged. Escapee, sit up, rubbing your eyes, heart suddenly awake in a way that has nothing to do with rest. Ellen leans close. Boy from the men's ward, young, said he couldn't take it anymore. Climbed the wall near the coal chute. You picture it. That sharp iron railing, that freezing brick, the thud of boots on damp stone. And somehow, it makes you feel something unexpected. Oh, not because he'll succeed. No one ever does. They always get caught, dragged back, punished, and made an example of. But still, he tried. At breakfast, the master's voice booms louder than usual. He makes a speech about order and discipline, about the sin of rebellion and the dangers of temptation. This is not a prison, he says, but it must be treated with seriousness. We are here to reform lives, not indulge fantasies. No one dares meet his eyes. By lunch, the boy is back. You see him being marched across the yard, barefoot, wrists bound, face pale with cold and fear. There's a cut across his cheek. The matrons call it justice. They say it's for his own good. You hear otherwise. He made it almost half a mile. Was spotted near the slipped on ice, fell. Caught by a constable. Now he's to be confined to the refractory cell for a week. Bread and water, no bedding, no visitors. The chaplain murmurs something about the wages of sin. You wonder if that boy regrets trying. That evening, as the lights dim, Ellen says, "There's no escape." Not really. Not from poverty. Not from this. But you're not so sure. Because as broken and dangerous as it was, his run for freedom reminded you of something. You're still a person. You can still want. You can still dream, even here. They can't take that from you. Not completely. Not yet. The year turns. A new calendar is nailed to the wall in the matron's office. Crisp, white, sterile. But nothing else changes. The days are still gray. The air still bites. Hunger and cold still rule the rhythm of life. You've stopped counting how long you've been here. Weeks, months. Time moves differently inside the workhouse. It becomes a dull drumbeat. Work, eat, sleep, repeat. Faces come and go. Some vanish without a word. Others return, thinner than before. But something does change. One afternoon, as you scrub the dormitory floor, the porter approaches with a slip of paper in his hand. He calls your name, not woman, not inmate, not you there, your name. You stand, palms damp, heart thudding. He hands you the paper, a message. You read it once. Then again, your brother has written. The letter is short, clumsy, in places, but real, ink, paper. Your name written in his hand. He's found a room for you and your daughter. Small, he says, but warm, in Limehouse. He's sent money, enough, maybe, for the workhouse to release you both. Tears sting your eyes. You almost don't believe it. Don't cry here, Ellen whispers, appearing at your side. They'll think it's illness. You laugh, quietly. That night, you pack what little you own. A comb, a scrap of ribbon your daughter saved from a biscuit tin. A folded cloth stitched by another inmate, a goodbye gift. You say farewell to Ellen. You squeeze her hand. Come find me, you say. When you get out, she nods. But you both know it may never happen. The next morning, you walk out with your daughter's hand in yours. She's small and quiet beside you, eyes wide in the daylight. The sky is blue. The streets beyond the gate are dirty and loud and chaotic. But they are free. For the first time in months, no one tells you where to go. You choose the direction. Your daughter looks up at you. "Are we really leaving?" she asks. You nod. "Yes, love. We are." You take one last look back at the workhouse. The towering walls, the barred windows, the silent stone that swallowed so many names. And then you turn away. Your boots echo softly on the cobbles. And behind you, for the first time, the gates stay closed.